Tonight, we're going to hear from representatives from TVA and NES. They're going to be talking about those power outages and how it impacted so many people here in this area. But when it comes to this community, they say they are still very heartbroken over the loss of Sergeant Cherry. I spoke to the company. It's called Light, and they say they can't really share specific details about who exactly they've been talking to here in Nashville, but they're hoping to bring artificial intelligence with their cloud-based system here to Nashville. It was a bronze dog statue that used to sit here before a thief came in and stole it. But before he left, he was able to look at this security camera, which hopefully can help police identify him. Two routes of interest would be Nashville to Chattanooga or Nashville to Memphis. But right now, TDOT hasn't made a decision on which route they would want studied. Les says the number of cases they worked for the entire year of 2017 was just a handful, but the number continues to increase every year. They renewed it for $20,000. They also traveled from Knoxville to update the banner that sits here in hopes that anyone that drives by will reach out with answers. After a week of no's,
we shouldn't have to be here.
Hattie Martinek and Julia Garnett finally got their yes early this morning.
Hey, if we could have everyone file in close together as possible.
Outside in the Hendersonville High School garden is where their classmates all came together to hear what they had to say.
This is not just a walkout. This is not a get out of class excuse.
Garnett's peers listened as she spoke about the lives taken last Monday at the Covenant School in Nashville.
I would like to invite you to join me in 6 minutes of silence to represent the lives that we have lost.
6 minutes of silence, allowing students to reflect, pray, and cry as the emotions rolled through.
It was just another reminder that this could have been us, and it hits really close to home because it was close to home.
But as Martinek stood to speak,
I'm just so tired of the constant fear I have to live in as I'm trying to further my education.
She pushed through her pain to advocate for more change.
We as a student body are calling upon Tennessee legislators to reconsider their stance upon firearms out of respect for Tennessee students and Covenant.
Because for both teams, they say this walkout was symbolic.
It really showed that student voices do matter and that we can come together and we can make change.
6 are dead. How many more?
And it's just the beginning of the change both teams say they'll continue to fight for.
We're going to keep pushing for changes. We're not going to stop. And we're going to be the change we want to see in the world. Protect the kids!
In Hendersonville, Maranda Whittington, News 2.
Just find your seat there, anything that's open. How are you today, sir?
It's been a long time coming. 3 years to be exact. Since the honor flight of Middle Tennessee took its last flight.
I want to welcome everybody. Glad you're here.
But after such a wait, 26 veterans were gifted a beautiful welcome. Before the pandemic, twice a year, veterans serving as far back as World War II would gather together on a plane to visit our nation's capital.
They canceled our trip back then, and they just now renewed it. So we're getting to go. We're really excited about it.
Lloyd Klutz is 101 years old and one of the few remaining veterans who served during the Second World War.
I hit the Normandy Beach on the 6th day of June, 1944, and I went across about 7 countries in Europe.
I did 1 semester, and then I said, I've got to join the Navy. I was 17.
While Klutz was storming Normandy Beach, 96-year-old Nick Mucavero was on a destroyer in the South Pacific.
I was a radio man, so I didn't see a lot of the shooting going on, but our ship was very fortunate. We went through everything from the beginning of the war till the end.
These men experienced more than we could ever imagine, but a trip to Washington, D.C. is something everyone, including Vietnam veteran Willie Joy, can't wait for.
It's just going to be an honor to be able to see a lot of the things, especially the Vietnam Memorial Wall and the other things as well. Arlington Cemetery, I'm looking forward to that.
Those overhead bins for the roll bags, car bags, dump bags.
God bless America. We have more coming through.
A warm welcome is something many of these men never received coming home.
Stand beside her.
But sometimes it takes a little time and a flight to make things right again.
With the light from above.
At Nashville International Airport, Maranda Whittington, News 2. Inside this little house,
And Etta James cut her first live album at the New Era Club.
Is a man with a whole lot of history.
And the hand right here belongs to James Watson.
But over a decade later, Lorenzo Washington's home has now transformed into the Jefferson Street Sound Museum.
I moved in, but had no intentions of starting a museum.
Photos, artifacts, and Jefferson Street's rich musical history is what Washington shares with his visitors.
Nashville was a very popular spot back in the day.
Dubbed the original music row by natives, Jefferson Street was the place where African Americans came to perform back in the day.
Ella Fitzgerald, touched Jefferson Street, left her footprint on Jefferson Street. Nat King Cole, you had personalities that was renowned. I've shook hands with Jimi Hendrix at the Del Morocco nightclub. It wasn't only Jimi Hendrix, but it was Otis Redding. It was Aretha Franklin. It was Jimmy Church. It was a number, even Louis Armstrong.
This rich musical history is something many visiting and even living here don't even know.
One of the promises that we made as we built this museum here at 5th and Broadway was that the Nashville story would be prominent.
But nearly 3 miles away, CEO Henry B. Hicks is also making sure that history comes alive at the National Museum of African American Music.
If you go back another 2 or 3 decades, you really think about R&B and jazz music that was so prominent here, the emergence of gospel forms of music, and even the early participation of African Americans in what is now considered country music.
This museum started as an idea over 20 years ago and now has become a place that showcases all aspects and genres of music and African American artists.
Nashville music and its music scene, going back again generations over generations, has always been really important. So no matter where you go throughout the museum, you're going to find Nashville and you're going to find the state of Tennessee.
All of that can be found there off Broadway.
She played at Brown's Dinner Club at one time.
Or here on Jefferson Street with Washington. And its history he wants to make sure everyone gets the opportunity to hear and see.
Here I am with all of this, and they left this in my hands to protect, to promote, to respect. And that's what I'm doing here on Jefferson Street in this museum.
In Nashville, Maranda Whittington, News 2.